Hey, welcome. I got some P. Diddy footage from the trial. And I think that we're going to get on to it and watch that for a while. Now let's get started.
But first, Cassie Ventura is back on the witness stand in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. She's now giving new graphic testimony alleging the music mogul abused and sexually exploited her for years. We do want to warn you, some of the testimony is disturbing. At times, Ventura broke down on the witness stand, describing physical abuse by Combs and being forced to participate in marathon sex performances. Combs has pleaded not guilty in the sex trafficking trial and says all sexual encounters were consensual. ABC's Rena Roy is at the courthouse, and ABC News legal contributor Bernardo Villalona is here with some analysis. So, Rena, what's the latest from court?
Well, Diane, Cassie Ventura, as you said, is now back on the stand for a second day. And if today is anything like yesterday, we can expect her testimony to be raw, emotional, and graphic. Some of the details too graphic to even share on air here. She has spent hours telling jurors about those so-called freak-offs. Ventura has told the jury she felt she had no choice but to participate in those drug-fueled sex marathons with prostitutes. And she says that the one time she did try to leave, things turned violent. And she's referring to that 2016 video that jurors have seen multiple times at this point from a Los Angeles hotel, where you see Combs kicking and dragging her. She says moments before that, Combs had given her a black eye during a freak-off, so she grabbed her things to leave, and that is when that video started recording. She says that was his reaction. So the jury is continuing today to hear more disturbing allegations from Ventura. Diane.
Bernardo, Cassie told the jury that these were humiliating sessions. She called them disgusting with male prostitutes. She says they left her feeling insane. And she essentially says it turned into this sort of private form of porn. What do you make of the picture this is all painting for the jury?
Well, this looks very poorly on Sean Combs. I would be concerned if I was Sean Combs that this jury is taking these acts and these emotions and holding it against them in the sense of that they're not going to really look at the facts and look at the law itself, whether these facts make out the racketeering conspiracy, doesn't make out the sex trafficking, doesn't make out a transportation to engage in prostitution, as opposed to looking at, is this a domestic violence case? Is this a series of just sexual acts? But the question that this jury ultimately is going to have to determine, was there a racketeering conspiracy? Is there a criminal enterprise? So I am concerned. We're still in the beginning. Cassie has a lot of testimony to still give. I think she'll be on the stand at least up until Friday.
And what do they have to show to get that racketeering?
Well, the most important part, and the prosecution hasn't gotten there yet, is the criminal enterprise. Who were these people that Sean Combs was conspiring with to engage in these racketeering acts? And they haven't gotten to that part yet. Cassie yesterday on the stand did identify some individuals within the services of Sean Combs, including a person named KK, including security guards. So she identified a few people that worked in the inner circles, but we haven't gotten to the part of where was the agreement and what were the acts that these people in this enterprise were engaging in to show that they were all conspiring.
Rena, the prosecution, once they're done with direct examination, the defense starts their cross-examination. Any sense of what their strategy is going to be to try to counter some of this testimony?
Right, so the cross-examination is expected to begin at some point today. And from day one, the defense has maintained Combs' innocence here. They say that Cassie Ventura is a strong, capable adult woman who chose to stay with Combs and who chose to participate in those sex marathons, in those freak-offs. They say that all the things that the jury is hearing about, that those were consensual sexual encounters. They say that even if the jury thinks that Combs is mean or a jerk, that doesn't mean he's guilty. They did acknowledge that there was violence in this relationship, that there was toxicity and jealousy, but they say that does not mean that Combs is guilty of racketeering or sex trafficking. Diane?
Bernardo, what do you think the prosecution is going to try to do with this last leg of testimony with Cassie? Is there sort of a checklist in mind of things they're trying to hit on?
Oh, absolutely. The prosecution still has to get to those freak-off videos because there are certain video footage of some of those freak-offs, and they are going to bring it forth in front of this jury. Secondly, the prosecutor is going to get into the specific freak-off session that Cassie had with that second witness that testified, Mr. Phillips. So they haven't gotten into that encounter yet. So I expect the prosecution to ask Cassie Ventura as to what happened, who arranged that, and the specifics of also the violence that took place that night.
All right, Rena Roy, Bernardo Villalona, thank you.
Wow, I just had a lot of footage. This P. Diddy, man, trial is really, man, something. And I'm gonna tell you, Diddy, that's the bad, brother.
Testimony alleging the music mogul abused and sexually exploited her for years. We do want to warn you, some of the testimony is disturbing at times. Ventura
I wanted to hear about the Diddy jury. Let's do that. They say that was some, what, here we go.
Performer and producer Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested, according to the music mogul's attorney. Combs was taken into custody at a Manhattan hotel Monday night and was immediately processed. His attorney says Combs has been cooperating with the investigation. U.S. Attorney Damon Williams confirmed the arrest, adding that it was based on a sealed indictment. Those charges will not be revealed until later this morning. Diddy apparently even relocated to New York last week in anticipation of being charged.
The hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in New York on unspecific charges. It follows raids on his properties in Los Angeles and Miami as part of an ongoing investigation into sex trafficking. The 54-year-old is facing several civil lawsuits over alleged sexual assaults, which he all denies.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
Assuming the worst case situation for Diddy, right, and he gets convicted, what's the worst that he's looking at as far as time?
Just on the racketeering, the max is 20 years. That's one count. That's 20. Then you have violation of the man. And then in the federal system, and it's not required, but they have sentencing guidelines. And they will look at your criminal history, the severity of it. Listen, Diddy will, if I'm not mistaken, be 55 in November. At 55, you get 30 years. That's a life sentence.
Time they took on my baby, oh my baby, oh my baby, oh the oil
How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars.
Said 2 lines and then he left a note. I'ma read that bitch to y'all real quick. This what he fucking wrote. Dear all trick-or-treaters, I'm coming back for that ass. If I ain't get that butt last year, then this year's getting smashed. I ain't pulling up in no granny costume, that shit hard to run in. I'm pulling up in a tracksuit and we really gonna get this fun in. What the fuck?
You know that one picture? Diddy collapsed in court because he heard his sentence? No. They pretty much said Diddy heard his sentence and collapsed. He was in shock of hearing how much time he's gonna spend. That's not Diddy, bro! That's not Diddy, man! That does not look like him! That's not Diddy! Unless this is AI, no, but why is there no pictures of him in jail or in court? Yeah. No, but did you see his mugshot? That didn't look like him either. That's what I'm saying. It was weirdly shaped. You know what he looked like? You know the alien from American Dad? Yeah, a little bit, right? You know, you put disguises on? I think his name's Roger. That's definitely him, bro.
Court after weeks of being detained. Many expected him to look defeated after such a long time behind bars, but to everyone's surprise, he showed up with confidence. Despite wearing a prison jumpsuit, he stood tall, smiling as he walked into the courtroom and saw his family. The moment he saw his loved ones, especially his mother and children, his face lit up, and he even blew them kisses. Inside the courtroom, there were no shackles on Diddy, and his family looked relieved to see him. His mother arrived first, followed by his children, who were smiling and waving at him throughout the hearing. Even though most expected discussions about bail, the hearing focused on the data seized from Diddy's properties, including a massive amount of electronic devices that could take weeks to process. While the trial is set for May 2025, more charges might come, making that date uncertain. The case is far from over, and with 96 electronic devices seized from his homes, there's a lot more to uncover.
How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars.
Said 2 lines and then he left a note. I'ma read that bitch to y'all real quick. This what he fucking wrote. Dear all trick-or-treaters, I'm coming back for that ass. If I ain't get that butt last year, then this year's getting smashed. I ain't pulling up in no granny.
Everyone says, trust your gut. It's nice that I'm their go-to guy for big decisions, but knowing if you're overpaying...
Sean Diddy Combs is just days away from the official start of his trial in federal court on charges that could send him to prison for life, accused of running a...
Hey, D, you work here?
Whatever, kid.
Every shoe for every athlete, only at Dick's.
When it comes to ideas for your bath project, you have options within options at Floor & Decor.
Sean Diddy Combs will be in Manhattan federal court today for the start of his sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Fox 5 New York's Briella Tomasetti joining us live in Lower Manhattan with more on what to expect from today's proceedings. Briella, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Sean Diddy Combs built a business empire. He also had a stake in the fashion world. Today, though, he is pleading not guilty to federal charges. A pool of jurors tasked with deciding whether or not he spends the rest of his life in prison. Back in September, Sean Diddy Combs was indicted on charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He was arrested at a Manhattan hotel where he had been staying in anticipation of his eventual indictment, and he's been held without bail ever since then. Prosecutors allege that Combs used his business empire to conduct freak-offs, which they describe as highly orchestrated sex performances. They also claim he used his power and influence to force force women into participating. The judge presiding over the trial, Arun Subramanian, was nominated to the Southern District by former President Joe Biden in 2022 and confirmed by the U.S. Senate a year later. He ruled last week that Combs can wear non-prison clothing in the trial, and he's also allowing the 2016 surveillance video of Cassie Ventura being beaten by Combs to be used in court. The federal case revolves around 4 alleged victims who are all, by the way, expected to testify. This week, prosecutors and defense lawyers will choose 12 jurors plus 6 alternates. Attorney Amanda Riemann is not associated with the trial, but weighed in on what is expected to be a complicated process.
When the prosecution is interviewing people for jury selection, they're going to be eliminating people who really idolize this rapper, who have been big fans of this song since they were young teenagers. They're going to want that person acting. On the other hand, the defense is going to be thinking, okay, well, wait a minute, this potential juror, they sympathize with women. They might be a little too sympathetic.
Now, alleged victims will be allowed to remain anonymous and use pseudonyms if they wish. Again, jury selection starting at 8:30, just a little while away from now, and then opening statements, if all goes according to schedule, will begin on Monday, May 12th. We are watching the courthouse closely, Jeanne. No high-profile arrivals just yet, but it is a busy day here with media already swarming the area directly outside. We'll send it back inside to you.
All right, Fox 5 New York's Briella Tomasetti. I can only imagine how crowded it's going to be. Obviously, as you mentioned, this being a high-profile case. Briella, thank you so much for providing us the latest details. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Said 2 lines and then he left a note. I'ma read that bitch to y'all real quick. This what he fucking wrote. Dear all trick-or-treaters, I'm coming back for that ass. If I ain't get that butt last year, then this year's getting smashed. I ain't pulling up in no granny costume, that shit hard to run in. I'm pulling up in a tracksuit and we really gonna get this fun in. What the fuck?
How's your dad doing? Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars.
Performing on the biggest stage in the world was just one step.
Diddy collapsed in court because he heard his sentence.
I didn't see that video.
So there was a huge article and it pretty much said Diddy heard his sentence and collapsed.
Okay.
Because he was in shock. This is a picture of him collapse. That's not Diddy, bro. That's not Diddy, man. That does not look like him. That does not look like him.
But did you see his mugshot? It didn't look like him.
That didn't look like him either.
That's what I'm saying. He was way thinner.
It was weirdly.
Diddy's trial just kicked off, and it's already spiraling. Word is he nearly lost it in court after one of the wildest freak-off tapes was played right in front of the jury. Sources say he interrupted the judge mid-session, demanded a bath.
More options means even more affordable ideas for your bathroom from Floor & Decor.
Is the bad boy mogul running out of options? As the legal storm intensifies around Sean Diddy Combs, his latest move has left both fans and critics raising eyebrows. In a shocking twist, the hip-hop titan is now leaning on a mental health defense, a strategy some say reeks of desperation more than genuine diagnosis. With mounting allegations ranging from sex trafficking to racketeering, insiders claim this is less about healing and more about damage control. But will the courts buy it? Or is this just another chapter in a high-profile fall from grace? A trial that could rock the industry. From a brand new mental health defense strategy to sharp, revealing questions aimed at potential jurors, this courtroom drama is about to explode. The sex crimes trial of Sean Diddy Combs is officially underway, and we've got the latest legal filings and explosive developments you won't want to miss. But first, have you heard? We just launched a brand new podcast. It's called Karen the Retrial. And yes, It's about Karen Reed. This deep dive is your one-stop shop for everything happening in her high-stakes retrial that's heating up right now. From bombshell testimony to courtroom twists, this show breaks it all down. You can listen exclusively on the Wondery app or Apple Podcasts. Click the link in the description. We know you're going to get hooked. Now, with Sean Combs facing some of the most serious accusations of his career, the legal maneuvering has become just as intense as the allegations themselves. Will this new mental health angle sway the jury? And how are the lawyers prepping for what could be one of the most high-profile trials in recent memory? What do you think? Will this mental health defense help or hurt Diddy's case? The Diddy trial officially begins. Jury selection and a mental health twist. The wait is over. Jury selection is now underway in downtown Manhattan as prospective jurors begin arriving at the federal courthouse. This marks the official start of Sean Diddy Combs' high-stakes criminal trial, a case that's already sending shockwaves through the entertainment world. Combs faces a staggering 5 federal charges: racketeering, sex trafficking, and the transportation of individuals to engage in prostitution, among others. And just as the legal machinery begins to turn, a flurry of filings has flooded the court docket, each one more revealing than the last. Among the most unexpected developments, a potential mental health defense. Combs' legal team appears poised to argue that he lacked the mental capacity to form the intent, known in legal terms as mens rea, to commit these serious crimes. In support of this defense, his attorneys are preparing to call Dr. Ellie Ghaffari Agoon, a forensic psychiatrist and assistant professor at Columbia University. Her testimony could be a cornerstone of the strategy to suggest that Combs' state of mind impaired his judgment and criminal responsibility. The trial hasn't even begun, and already the legal twists are piling up. As jury questioning looms, the stakes couldn't be higher, and the public is watching every move. Do you think a mental health defense will sway the jury, or will it backfire spectacularly? A mental health defense in doubt. Will it even make it to trial? As the courtroom prepares for opening argument,
Thrive Cosmetics just came out with new shades of my favorite product, and I am obsessed.
This is the Thrive Cosmetics
arguments, one of the most controversial moves from Sean Diddy Combs' legal team is already facing major pushback, a proposed mental health defense that could reshape the entire trial. According to filings, Combs' attorneys intend to call Dr. Ellie Ghaffari Agoon, a forensic psychiatrist and clinical professor at Columbia University. However, the government is challenging her role, claiming that Dr. Agoon never personally examined the defendant. Instead, she reportedly reviewed extensive records to form her opinion, though the exact nature of her findings remains unclear, thanks to heavily redacted documents. Still, hints in the filings reveal references to a lack of lucidity, inability to control behavior, and the impact of drugs and alcohol on Combs' memory and cognition. The implication? That he may have been so intoxicated or impaired he couldn't form the criminal intent, mens rea, required for the serious charges he faces. But prosecutors argue this defense shouldn't even reach the jury. Under federal law, only very limited mental conditions, usually under an insanity defense, qualify as legal justifications. The type of diminished capacity claim Combs is making falls into a narrow, rarely accepted exception. The government insists that without a proper psychiatric evaluation or clear legal basis, this testimony is inadmissible. So now the question is, will the judge allow the jury to hear any of this? Or will this defense be shut down before it even begins? Let us know what you think. Should mental health play a role in high-profile criminal trials like this?
Y'all know Forbes covered this story.
As we moved from one location to two, we quickly realised that we needed better data so that we could customise the curation for each of the markets. Originally, we started with the KDS by adding Square Online for the full grocery offering. We hoped to grow sales about $20. And we used the loyalty program, which has definitely generated a lot of repeat business. Since onboarding with Square, we've tripled the business. It's been fantastic.
All right. Did y'all see how they did their trial? We'll finish. If you like the video, dude, like and subscribe. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Thank you.